Hi there, everybody. This is Through a Therapist's Eyes. Thanks for tuning us in and checking us out. I am Chris Gazdick. He is Adam Cloninger. We are talking about a cool topic tonight. I'll tell you, it's interesting the way that I generated this topic. I think I was just telling you, Adam, before they turned the mics on. But I am a substance abuse and mental health therapist since 1995 in one form or another. We try to develop personal insights to share with you in your own home or personal time driving in your car. We see the world through the lens of a therapist, but be aware it's not delivery of therapy services in any way. Always important to point that out. I wanted to start saying the date. What is the date today? This is August the 4th, right?
Yes.
Yep. I need to start doing that because you come out after we do the show.
2022.
Yeah, 2022 is a good additional component. Yeah, because sometimes we have things going on, and people are like, "Why did you mention this? Why didn't you mention that?" It's like, well, because it didn't happen yet when we talked about this show. So that explains that. So this is August the 4th, 2022. Yeah,
2025.
20 is it now? Now I'm confused, man. 5-star reviews are helpful for us. Apple allows you to give us some reviews with words. They help us. They help us get found. Comments, thank you. God, my brain is somewhere today. This is the human emotional experience. We do endeavor to figure this out together, and we appreciate you on this journey. I'm going to give a little pop of awareness out that we have kind of a big announcement coming up soon, specifically soon as in 2 episodes soon. So, episode 200 is coming up. Believe that or not, right? Episode 200 is coming up. Of course, I turned you on to a podcast. They've done 800 episodes. Mm-hmm. It's insane. Mm-hmm. Do you like that episode or that podcast?
Cool. Yeah, the one I was watching.
Did I turn you on to it? You going to watch it?
Yeah, I'll listen to it. I didn't watch it.
But listen, yeah.
They have video too, or just?
I think Niels tells me they have everything. Yeah,
they have video also.
Video and YouTube and I don't know. Yeah,
they record it on YouTube without video, like it's just the episode, but they do an additional live stream every week as well. So you think about all the podcast episodes plus a live stream video.
Okay.
So yeah, they do have something you can watch on YouTube.
Yeah, they got a lot of stuff, and it's just science geek out, man. I knew you would love it.
Yeah, I like it.
You even like the noisy though. I can't stand that.
Oh, I love that. That's my favorite part. I'm like, yeah, I can hear the voice. I can hear it.
Oh my gosh. For you listening, there's this show that I like, and they have a segment where they just have weird noises that are nothing, like squeaky sounds, and I don't even know what half this stuff is. I just fast forward through that.
Well, the only one I saw, I was able to tell what it was.
You were? You got it right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could tell what it was. And the next one, I was like, yeah, okay. Next one, I didn't know what it was exactly.
Wow.
I mean, I could tell it was a conversation. And I'm like, because he said you got to be specific. You got to say who it was and what time frame, what they're talking about. I'm like, okay, I don't know that much about it. So, but no, they had one where they played a song and they were doing the computer was doing the voice and everything. Yeah, I couldn't know what song it was and everything.
Okay, this will tune the audience into your personality a little bit. Sorry if I out you, but it's fine. It's got to be done. Yeah,
it's fine.
So, you got to understand these noises that this show does is like a bird squeaking magnified times 10 in the middle of the afternoon or something like that, or like I don't even know, some of the electromagnetic noises that come from your engine of your car, and they record it. You can't guess these things. So you've listened to one or two of them, and you've actually guessed one is just like totally ridiculous. I gotta say,
it was a song though. I mean, I knew the song.
It was just a song.
It was a song, but they had played. What they did is they played a song that was like from, I guess it'd be the 80s, and they fed the song into. Did it like AI played it back using a piano, but the piano did the vocals also. So you're hearing the piano I don't know. So even the person singing. So it was I recognize it. So
the fact that it was easy for you scares me even more. Did you call in and tell them, like, I know what this is? You're going to be that guy. You're going to be that guy. I know you're going to be that guy. Refute Negative Messages. that others have given you, unless they're true, and usually they're not. That's the subtitle. I don't know if it'll be added in there. But I thought it was kind of cool. I was telling you before the mics came on how I generated this topic. And because I was just looking now, like I've got a long list of topics that I want to do content on, things that just pop up to me. I got a notebook I carry around with me. So I'm kind of constantly generating, cool content. And a lot of it comes up like in my therapy sessions. And so I'll just write it down in my book. So transfer that over to a document that we have that's a running tab of topics. So I was just looking down the other day. This one was working on it last week. And I've started reading the lines, right? And I thought, oh, that's cool. That's good. Well, that's a good one, And I chose the one that I did, Refute Negative Thoughts. But it wasn't even on my contact list, right? You now know where it was on. So what was it on? How did you understand that?
Well, the way I got, what you talking about? What show was it from?
Mm-hmm. No, it was from the Implicit Bias show.
Oh, okay.
But
to me, I'm thinking it was like a note C under something else where you were just like a little side note. You probably had it written off the side of the page or something. I don't know.
It was on a list of how to manage implicit bias. And the funny thing to me is like that literally I could take any one of these shows and go a deep dive on one of the strategies that we had that was listed on 10.
I want to know what item B was now.
Well, we'll have to look it up. Okay. There was a whole list of them. And so it's just cool that these shows can kind of dub on each other. And the way that I generated this topic to me was like, wow, how much content is there that we can really needle into? Because this was a list item on how to manage implicit bias, but it also applies to a lot of other things that we're going to be managing. So refuting negative thoughts, I think, is something that can help you with a lot of things, including implicit bias-y. But, boy, I don't know that people know how to do that very well. And so we're going to go take a deep dive on that tonight. That sound agreeable to you?
Yep.
All right. What if it wasn't, what would we do?
Do it anyway.
Yeah. What is negative messages? So we have all sorts of things that we think about. And Adam, I don't know. I think it's pretty universal. So as I read these examples, right, like you may think, oh, I wouldn't say that. I'm a jerk. I'm a loser. I never do anything right. No one else would ever like me. I'm a klutz. I'm unlovable. I'll never find my guy. Well, you and I might not say that one, but, a female might say that.
I wouldn't. I don't know about you. But
I'm not going to say that either. I'm never going to find my gal. That's what I would say. I mean, we have these negative kind of powerful emotional statements that oftentimes we're not even really thinking about. In an implicit bias show, we talked about how that could be undercurrent. It can be in our subconsciousness and the way that we're really thinking about it. But sometimes we literally even, think these things when we're going through tough times or when we're wondering about something or worried about something or angry about something or just sad about something. Like we'll get these statements, these oftentimes negative-oriented beliefs that are messages that is in our self-talk. So I think it's pretty universal. But do you know what I mean? I mean, do you have that experience? I mean, is that...
Yeah, to me, I think that it's sometimes good to kind of consider them a challenge.
Oh, that's interesting. What do you mean?
Like if there's something that you're knowing you're not good at or something you should do this and you don't or whatever... Yeah. Sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, well, I can do that. I don't know. You may remember there was a long time ago I told you, one of the first couple of shows I did with you, there was a job I took, and one of the reasons I even applied for that job was because I had to talk to people. And I don't like talking to people.
I do remember you talking about that. Yeah.
And now I'm on a podcast.
I know, right? Talking to the world. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, no,
but it was a big thing. It's something I didn't want to do. It was what would you say? It was a
presentation, or was it negative messages you gave about yourself? I can't do public speaking. I'm not good at crowds. I don't have enough information. There are all sorts of things that I think we think of, and thank you. It's an excellent example. And I mean, I think really anytime you do something new, there's going to be these thoughts, these fears, these doubts, these insecurities that pop up. And Yeah, I just think it's super powerful in the way that we go about them and how limiting they can be. And I love your thought. Your thought should be on my list, I think, of how to manage them. Turn them into challenges. That is a fantastic way to manage something that has hit you or that somebody has instilled into your life in a negative way that you really can, actively and strongly. I love attacking negative things in our emotional self. So
That's the show.
that's mic drop, man. Boom. Right? I love it.
Negative messages take the challenge.
Negative messages turned into a challenge.
I say take the challenge.
Take the challenge. Take the challenge. Okay, I can go with that. That just makes me think of one of these crazy things that go on the internet, where you take the challenge, the cold water bucket challenge or whatever kind of.
Which one fills up first?
Yeah, I don't want all that. Here's a good tip that I think can really help you to identify when you get these things going on. And that is oftentimes whenever we use permanency words. So forever, always, never, all the time, everyone, no one. These are what I call permanency words. I don't know if that's the proper way to refer to them or not. Some English person, my editor, Courtney, you need to call in and let me know, because I've been using that in my practice for a long time. When these permanency words come up, 95% of the time, they are going to be inaccurate. They're going to be
Agreed.
False.
Yeah.
Right? I don't even know why we have them in our language. As a matter of fact, I would be very, very curious for those of you listening outside of the States that are bilingual. I would love to know how many of these words, right, are used in other languages. Because I suppose and submit to you that other languages oftentimes might not even have many.
It's like inaccurate.
It's unrealistic.
It's like you say, every time I wash my car, it rains. Every time, really? So,
yeah. Listen, I always used to use the example that I am always going to be a man. And nowadays, you never know. I did say that on air, didn't I?
You did.
Because I do that in my therapy office, and I'm going to be genuine, and I hope I didn't step on any toes and upset anybody, but there are only very rare circumstances that you can really use these words accurately. And that's the one that always comes to my mind, right? I will always be a North Carolinian. I can't say that.
Right.
I have no intentions to move right now. I'd love to retire back to West Virginia.
You might come with me, man.
It's not going to be allowed. What?
You might come up here with me.
No, bro. We have to talk. We got to talk. It's a great place to live, though. Love West Virginia. So, but that's a good indicator. These permanency words, that gives you an idea that you've probably just got into an unrealistic and negative mindset. Every, all, no one, everyone. These are usually good indicators that you just got something going on in your thinking that you really need to attack.
You mean like if someone had in their head, I can never do this?
Right. Right. Every time I go speak, something always gets screwed up. Every time I turn on the microphones, technology problems always arise. Like,
right.
No. But we get really stuck in that. So where do these things come from? I think is something that we definitely need to touch on. Because it's easy for us to really think about blaming other people and being angry or resentful at other people. But if you really think about it, where are these messages operational? Are they operational in the world at us? I would maintain to you that way more commonly, these things are things that are inside of us that we've bought into in some way or another that become operational. And that is a huge, huge thing to realize. Operationally developed maybe outside of yourself, but operationally internal to ourselves are these negative messages. I think I'm speaking like Yoda. Does that make sense?
You say it backwards?
I did sort of chopped it backwards. Operationally, these messages are internal to our thought process. They're internal to our experience. We do get a lot of things from mirroring. We do get a lot of things from, well, I think I have a list that I created in where that we get these things from. But if you think about how to get to know yourself. You see yourself from other people and the way that they mirror back the experience that they have when you're talking or when you're behaving a certain way. And so we learn a lot about ourselves, and that manifests into what we unfairly believe or are told about ourselves. So that's a big generator. But they also operate from unresolved issues that we have in our own lives. So feelings that we had about a breakup, experiences with a divorced family, or having an alcoholic parent or something big like that creates all sorts of internal negative messaging. But do you see, like, the experiences that we have and things that we haven't really let go of or resolved create stuck spots? I talk about that a lot in my book. Stuck spots where we get just beat up over and over again whenever we come up against something that's belief about ourselves is in operational internally. We also get them from situations that were real. So the situation that has two additional perspectives that have implicit bias included in them. I don't even know what I mean by that. There are real situations that can have. So this is dynamic. Follow me for a second. We have real situations in our life that have actually more than two. All three of us, Neil, me, and you, have a perspective on how this show is going or how it went and whatnot. So those perspectives really lead to the implicit way that we experience the bias of our perspective. Like, that's the real perspective. But they're different in each of our perspectives with what we're really experiencing now. But this implicit bias kind of comes in and makes us color our vision and our own perspective, which is dynamically where it gets created. Okay, mirroring, I'm being affected by your experience if you're really super uncomfortable. We're doing the show and it's a weird topic and you give me facial expression. So I'm really picking up on that, but I have my own experience that I'm mirroring and projecting back to you. And Neil might be over there like bored. Well, he's yawning right now. So he's bored and he's like disinterested, and that makes you feel like, oh, we're doing a bad job. And I might see you get more anxious, and so I start feeling. You see how that could just spin and spin and spin, and dynamically you begin to pick up on your own perspective, feeds into the implicit bias that we have, and just creates all sorts of negative messages, even in real time when we're doing something. Even if you don't have a chronic problem with a particular perspective, I could be all upset and worried that Neil thinks we're doing a bad job in the real time with mirroring. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these things come from so many angles at us. I don't know. It just tends to beat people down. You know, all of these messages that come flying at us. What are you thinking? Let me tune into your thoughts.
I'm thinking about. I'm gonna back up. I'm thinking about like your one of your first things you mentioned about these. I'm gonna call them absolutes. What'd you call them?
Permanency words.
Okay, so I mean, I might take it a little further. I'd say can't should be one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that.
I mean, you know, I know you talk about always and you know never and stuff like that, but I'm thinking can't should be one because you might not be able to accomplish it now, but that doesn't mean always. But can't means it's a permanency word.
It is kind of a permanency word. And, you know, it's funny because one of the things that I do in cognitive work with people when we're really looking at thoughts is I will absolutely, it's kind of a classic cognitive behavioral strategy, turn can't into can. So if you can't do that, then what can you do? You know, you just kind of look at, well, what are the options then if you get stuck into that? If it isn't everyone thinks you suck, well then where are some of the areas that you can see other people don't see you sucking? So you just switch it. Like, I love your kind of comment attacking. How did you say? Take the challenge.
Take a challenge.
You know, that's kind of what, you know, when you identify can't or one of these words in one of these situations, or if you become aware of this dynamic thing of, you know, feeling negative about what's going on even in the real moment, that's when we'll get to how do you manage negative messages in the last segment, but you're trying to turn all of these around. You know, we can't have a conversation about where these negative messages come from if we don't think of family of origin. You know, how many negative messages come from early on in life?
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that being a thing.
It's huge. I was trying to think of an example that I might pull out. I mean, I'll give you one that wasn't really when I was young, but I'll never forget this moment. I mean, I was out in college. You know, I mean, I don't have a lot of rhythm. I can't dance. I know that. I struggle. I feel very.
Did he
insecure.
say can't? He said can't.
I said can't. I do not feel comfortable. I struggle with insecure dancing and singing for that matter.
So, are you going to procrastinate and get dance lessons?
I'm not doing dance lessons. So there was a dude that was a buddy of mine. His name is Matt. Love you, buddy. I haven't talked to him in a long, long time, but he was a crazy dude in college that we hung out with. So I got my courage up and I went out, you know, like every young man does, and I started trying to do the dance thing on the dance floor, and I was hitting on some girl or whatever. I think it didn't work terrible, but it didn't work great either. So it was like, I don't know. But I came back off the dance floor, and this dude looked at me, and all he said was, "Don't ever do that again." I don't know if he was busting my chops or just trying to be,
You're like, thanks, pal.
right? He crushed
I will
me.
never do that again. Is now burned in my head.
Exactly. Now, I didn't feel very totally comfortable dancing before that, but
So what I heard you
Didn't
just tell
help.
me is the reason you said I can't do that is because that guy told
well,
you to never.
well,
do
like
that
I said, it
Good
burned in
example.
my memory. I had already felt
Good
weird
example.
before that, but it
Yeah.
definitely hit me. So we can have little moments like that. Now I can dance. I'm all grown up, but still, there's an uncomfortability that's there, and that even as I've changed that a little bit, that things still kind of arise. They still bubble up. What are you laughing? Next time you're gonna try to get me.
No, I'm
dancing on the
hearing
dance
that.
floor.
I'm hearing the guy saying, "Never do that again."
I'm telling you, it was crushing, man.
Yeah, I bet so.
It really was. Don't ever do that to somebody if you're buddies with them. It was, and maybe it just struck me weird in that moment. I mean, I don't know what he was trying to do. Another one that comes to my mind in where do these things come from, right? Toxic relationships and traumatic events. Like these are huge. When you go through the events in life, such as being molested or physically beaten, even, violently hurt in a fight, guys fight, or I mentioned alcohol and drug addiction issues in your family of origin, experiences that you had with betrayal of an affair. These are all like, seriously dramatic, if not traumatic circumstances that you have in your life. And they imprint themselves dramatically into the subconsciousness and the belief systems that you have. And I can't tell you how much effort at times in a therapy practice I've gone unwinding these with people so that you can get to a place that you can even know that they're operational and then try to refute them and whatnot. Lots and lots of problems. I could probably just camp out here and go for a while. I'm going to move on. But the reality that this can be so... it's part of what hurts many thousands of times after somebody hurts you in such a serious and dramatic way that way. Domestic violence, how did I not mention that? Like, a victim of domestic violence is dealing with a plethora of negative messages that they have to go through an amazing period of recovery to refute and experience themselves in a different way. So that's a big, big deal. Fears, namely those with close attachments. We've talked a lot about EFT on here. The abandonment insecurities and the engulfment insecurities and how they just create fears and other fears associated with the way that we experience absolutely create these negative messages as well. And then lastly, and I held it off because I think it's way more common. I think it's way more insidiously destructive when people are trying to figure out how to experience themselves with self-talk and self-view and all that kind of stuff. If you have a heavily critical person in your life, that destroys a person's soul. And I think that's more common than the dramatic trauma of stuff. There are people sometimes that we have in our lives that I don't know if you've ever experienced anybody that's kind of got some toxicity that way, Adam. But can you imagine, or have you had somebody that's just chronically coming at you with something negative, telling you to do something a different way, or even when you had a success time, they kind of pointed out something you screwed up, or just the criticisms.
Well, not exactly that, but I've been around people who doesn't matter what happened, there's always something's always an issue. There's always drama. There's always somebody talking about them at work, or somebody's trying to screw them out.
Negative.
Of something. Always something. The bank did this, or this, it's never their fault. Yeah, so I can kind of see that.
Yeah, it's tough to be around, and it sows doubt into most things that you think about or do. I mean, it sows doubt into even your thought process. And particularly then somebody who's so close to you as a husband or a parent, or even really a close friend. I mean, people can get into, was it you or was it Matthew? I think we did toxic friendships, and how to manage trouble with friendships. That wasn't you, was it?
That's probably Matt.
Right? So you can have somebody that's your buddy, your best buddy even, but you get into this weird thing where it's not a good friendship. Like somebody that you really need to get away from, but they're your friend, but they're just negative. So this can create all kinds of negative self-messages kind of as well. So do we have a good idea of where these things come from? Would you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So what are the consequences? Well, I think people could probably realize this is not a good thing. But let's take just a moment and look at really the things that get created when you have these things just raging in your mindset. Limited thinking, perfectionism, feelings of depression, relationship challenges. This is probably not a complete list. I don't think I spent as much time listing those out, but the consequences of tearing yourself down, man, it sucks. It's so difficult to function on many levels when you're trying to be active or begin something new or try something new, or, if I'm going to try to go out there and learn some dance steps because my wife loves it, we're going to do ballroom dancing, and I got all this noise in my head, it's so debilitating.
I'm going to show you some break dancing after this episode.
Can't even get started. You did do break dancing, didn't you? Right?
I did.
Can you still do anything?
Yeah, I can.
What can you do?
Just about anything.
Can you do the worm? That's break dancing.
I suppose I could. No, I can still do some stand-up stuff, but I'm not getting on the floor and breaking my back. And
I imagine at our age now, that stuff would be a lot more painful than it ever was when you were.
I could probably do it good for about 5 seconds, and I'll be like laid up in bed tomorrow.
You need some ibuprofen. So limited thinking, perfectionism, being depressed or downtrodden, all kinds of relationship challenges, just as it may have come from this article, actually, The Toxic Effects of Negative Self-Talk. I think it did.
You may even want to talk about perfectionism for a second, because I know what you're talking about here, but that can actually, I'm going to squeamishly say, can be a good thing too, but that's not what you're talking about. That's not, I'm talking about wanting to do something perfectly, and you practice. That's not what you're talking about here.
Have we talked about OCD on this show?
We could do that, though. Actually, we were going to one time. I mentioned it, and you said, it'd be a good topic. We haven't done that.
Oh, that probably is on the list as we go. What do you mean? So your kind of concern is you're not thinking.
No, I'm just saying you might want to
people that want to do a good job and make things really on.
That's not what you're talking about.
Not so much. Yeah,
that's
you're
not what
right.
you're talking about.
Perfectionism more is referring to. Well, I don't know how can perfectionism really be thought of as a good thing, though. Perfect is the operational component of that, right? Like. Are we trying precision? I mean, you're an engineer, and you have to have things pretty precise to do the things that you do. That's not perfect, though, even, is it? Like, do you need perfection in the precision that you have with a lot of your tools and the things that you do?
Oh yeah, but I mean, but you think there's always acceptable tolerances you have to stay between. I mean,
Okay. I would think that when you begin thinking about those such minute tolerances, which is part of the pressure of what you do in engineering, right? Like, that creates a pretty strong amount of pressure to get it right. And so whenever you have perfectionism, you have an incredible amount of negative fear or insecurity that I'm going to screw this up or that up, so I need to make sure it's right perfectly on the line. So
now I can see that being bad.
that's bad.
That's bad. But like I said, that's what you're talking about here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I was getting at.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting.
Sorry for the sideline, man.
No. That's why we hear, because when something is there that you see that way, I think that's super important.
I mean, you've heard people say practice makes perfect.
Okay, that's a good expression.
So that's
I love
what,
expressions.
That's what I was getting at. That's not what you're talking about here. I just want to make sure nobody thought that's what you're talking about.
That's interesting. I'm glad you said that sentence, because you know what? I love phrases, and we do say that practice makes perfect. Is that a bad phrase?
I guess it depends on how far you take it.
Golly, yeah. I'm trying to think if I ever said that to my kids. I don't know that I did, because I don't want to put that kind of pressure on them trying to be perfect. But we'll move on.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll move on, I think. Look at the sources and realize this is what's meant by usually they're not true in the subtitle that I talked about. Like, check the sources out again and think how many of these sources. So how many of these sources do you think are really going to give you accurate information? Okay. So permanency words we mentioned, right? I think we made a pretty strong, convincing argument for that. The way people mirror things back to us, it can be so like so much of their own problem or insecurity or angst can be a part of how they mirror back to you, that you can never know what their issue is and what's your issue. The unresolved issues that we have in ourselves, when we have those things that we haven't let go of or they haven't dealt with, do you think that's really going to give you accurate information about yourself? See what I'm going after here? Like, if you look at the sources, these are not really good sources to understand yourself.
Right.
Now. This whole crazy thing that I was trying to describe in such a short fashion with implicit bias and the perceptions that we all have in the real time, that's so mixed up. That's not going to be a great source. It's not going to give you accurate information about yourself. Family of origin is interesting. Sometimes they will, but sometimes they really won't. So that's probably a mixed source. Particularly your experience of things when you were younger. It's experienced as a child. So that's not going to be a great source to give you true information. Trauma and toxic relationships is going to give you horrible information. Okay? Heavy criticisms. I mean, I don't care how bad of a person you might be, if you're criticized all the time by a critical person, chances are it's not accurate, right?
And again, it's a toxic person, so
It's a toxic person. And then the fears and insecurities that you have as based on abandonment or engulfment or any of the other number of insecurities that operate with us. Do you see that these are not really going to be good, accurate information that you're operating from? So the whole title here today, right? Refute negative messages that others have given you unless they're true. That was my subtitle that I was thinking through. But usually they're not true is the point. And you've got poor information from sources that are either usually unintentionally just tearing you down. So I guess I added this little segment to think a little bit about, like, boy, we really want to be careful about how we allow these things to just rummage through our thoughts. You know, I think people would be shocked if they got into the heads of other people and found how much they sit back and just think about these things or themselves in the way that they do. Can you imagine being in somebody's head?
Yeah, I can think that would be kind of neat for like 2 minutes.
It'd be scary.
For 2 minutes.
I think people would be shocked. I mean, we look up to a lot of people that are famous or, in the media or actors and just people that we look up to and admire and whatever. Dude, I guarantee you they are raging way more than you would ever think they are. Because, in fact, that's probably in some part why people go on doing as successful and working as hard as they do. But I can go off on a tangent on that for a while. Let's get to the good stuff. How do we refute these things? What do we really want to try to do? Have you ever really sat back at them in just your regular day outside of the therapy world and tried to dig into this as an issue? To really think like, you came up with the idea of take the challenge and kind of go with something. Do you do that? Have you ever came across many aspects in life where you've done that? Just in normal, regular flow, I'm wondering.
Yeah, I mean, that job was an example, but I mean, I'm at work or something, and there's something that I'm looking at, and there's obstacle, and instead of just ignoring it and say, we're never going to be able to do that, never.
Keyword.
Yeah, so never going to be able to do it. What if we did this? Mm-hmm. It's a challenge.
I just wonder how many people are conscious of actually doing this. I mean, in a therapy office, we do it all the time. We're constantly looking at ways that we can reframe an understanding about something, or confront something that somebody's thinking about themselves, or any number of those types of things. And I guess I'm just wondering, like, do people do this? And I don't know that people are walking around very aware that it's happening. I don't know that people are walking around very aware of like their negative thoughts even about themselves, because who sits down and thinks about this? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. We do it in everyday life about, from my aspect, I do it like as a job. But there's other people do it at work too. They think about things like that, but I don't think people think about doing it in personal life.
You're not really quality control, but you're kind of in a quality control component at the company, right?
Used to be the quality engineer.
Okay, you actually used to be a quality control engineer.
Yep.
Okay, how much quality control do we have on our internal thinkings about the negative thoughts of ourselves? I think that's the way I would put it. Like,
okay,
not much. I don't think we have much thought about it. I think it just operates, right? So if we're going to be purposeful about being aware of what we're thinking with ourselves and taking the challenge, and I like to think of attacking these things in ourselves, how do we do that? I got a list.
let's hear it.
All right. First off, right off the get-go, I really feel like it's super important for more than one reasons, to really surround yourself with people that you would, call good people. How successful, if we've just established that you're not really thinking about this very often, you're not very engaged in, quality control of your thoughts and such, how productive do you think you're going to be if you don't hardly even know that it's going on, to refute it or challenge them, right? Other people can see when they're happening. Other people can see when there's a barrier there. And if you develop a little bit of trust, like you and I are friends, we can develop trust. Mm-hmm. You can give me feedback about my massive insecurities with dancing and tell me,
right.
Chris, it's fine. You're all right. You don't look that bad. Holy cow. Something's going on.
We got a storm going on here and the lights are flashing.
Or literally my office doesn't have windows at this current location, and it gets
You
totally
can actually hear
dark.
the storm outside too.
Oh, is it raining?
It's coming out. I can hear it.
If I was listening, you can't hear the rain that hits the roof. And man, we've gotten storms like every single day.
It has been storming a lot.
Is that not crazy?
Mm-hmm.
What would we do, Neil, if the lights just went out and we're sitting in pitch dark? We'll just keep going, right?
Well, as long as I have power to record.
I guess that would blink the equipment off.
Nothing
Actually, are we
still
good?
Recording, right?
We're recording the episode, but the live stream has died temporarily.
Oh.
It'll reconnect once the router comes back on. So, but yeah, we'll just probably pause the recording.
Yep.
and we'd probably stop if there's no lights. So, but yeah, we're good on the recording.
All right, we're still live. We're still a go. Good people. They really will give us objective information. They're going to give us a way to look at things, even when sometimes we don't know that it's going on, right?
Yep.
So friends, family, people that you trust, people that are encouraging. Contrary, it occurs to me. Have you ever had that person in your life that's like super encouraging? I've got an example of that, and it's actually the opposite of the heavily critical person. I just don't like them types of folks around me. I really don't. There's this dude that
overly, like,
yeah, he's a little overly too.
Okay.
It can be over, which is it can be annoying if it's too much. I mean, too much is too much. But there's this buddy I golf with, Aaron. I love you, buddy, Aaron Clark. He's a good dude. And I swear, you can like shank one square off into the woods. And he's
I saw it, man.
I was at a great distance to it, man. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's on the other course, So, but it's nice. You know, he's the super encouraging, the validating. I mean, boy, when you get somebody like that in your life, I tell you, it's awesome.
Is he genuine about it, or is he just joking?
No, he's genuine. I've exaggerated it probably a little bit. Maybe he'd just be a little quiet if I shanked it off into the woods. But, I'll hit a ball that's like, top the ball on the drive, and it goes like half my distance or whatever. He's like, hey, man, that was really good. Good shot, man. It was straight. I'm like, God, I'm pissed right now, and you're telling me it was good, but it's okay. So we go on. Good people are really, really important to have when you're trying to refute negative messages about stuff. Playing off of that suggestion and the last episode was not with you, Adam. It was with Matthew on friendship, right? That's where you get your source. We talked about how valuable friendships are in life, and I think, it just totally plays out here where, you've got these people around in your life that you really are you need to have people that you can rely on, and a lot of what we talked about is friendship last episode, I think. Okay, we could do a whole topic on how to build self-esteem that we'll focus on a little bit here. Back to the creation of this show, right? We can take any one of these things and make them into a whole deep dive. When your self-esteem is down, what it amounts to is you see these negative things about yourself and you engage with trouble spots and whatnot, right? So a simple activity, I think I've said it on the show before, that I like to literally, I suggest this to people in my therapy office. So you just take something that you like about yourself, just at least one thing. I'm sure even when you're in depression or you're feeling really bad, can you come up with just one thing that you like? The reason why I'm saying it that way, I could ask you to list a list of things that you don't like about yourself, Adam, and it's going to be easy or difficult.
I guess that could be easy,
right?
It won't be a huge list, but there'll be a couple things.
If I come across a list, I think that we could probably we could rattle 10 things off. I would do, but then when I ask people about positive things, they struggle. Mm-hmm. Take that test and ask like 5-6 people. Just list off 10 things you like about yourself, and they'll go blah 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 blah, and they'll start. But you list 10 things you don't like about yourself, it'll be like right? And da da da.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's the way our thought processes operate. I don't know why that is. Honestly, we need some psychologists on there to study that stuff. But I just want you to find one positive thing that you like, and then limit it to only one thing that you don't like. And then you specifically look at targeting that, changing that, take the challenge as you go with, right? And turn that into something that you like. So then you have 2 that you celebrate, and you really celebrate them. And this could be over several weeks or several months. I mean, this is a whole process that you go through.
So you're saying, like, change it if you can?
Yeah. There's things that you can change about yourself. And you can change the things that you don't like about yourself. I could probably become an expert dancer. I could go out there. I'm sure that I can find enough rhythm. I'm not terrible anyway as it is, as I probably think I am. I could really improve that, right? So you take the thing that you don't like and you turn it in. So now that you have only one that you don't like, 2 that you like, and you do the same thing. And over the course of a period of time, just spend a whole summer on this. We're wrapping up the summer. And you might get to the point where you have 4 or 5 things that you like about yourself, and you list them out and you remind yourself of them, and then you go to only one more, and you just keep on doing that. I've had people do this, and it's honestly, I think in some ways it might sound a little corny and whatever for people to think about it in real terms, but boy, you do that, you will really build yourself up. And it may take some time because changing some things you don't like,
It's basically group them together.
you don't just do that as a flash. But what's that?
That's basically if you group them together. Like for example, like if you said, I can't dance, I need to get in shape. Hey, I'm gonna take some kind of dance class.
And
Get
become
in shape
I see what you're
and
saying.
dance.
Well, you know what? It's funny that, that's messing with the activity that I typically prescribe, and I have no problem with that, but I want to back that down a little bit because also, honestly, this can be overwhelming. People can get really, really overwhelmed.
That's why you want to focus on one.
That's why I only want one. I don't want to be overwhelming, and I don't want to be unrealistic that you're going to start out with a list of 5. I only want 1 and 1 so that you have 1 positive and only 1 negative so you don't have that uplifting. Now, obviously, if you begin to get momentum, you can do combos and kill 5 birds out with 1 stone,
Well, maybe just be a bonus benefit that you didn't intend. But
do a dance class, be a leader, get in shape. So you're dealing with your dance insecurity, getting in shape, and being in public. How about that? See, I pulled it all together.
Right.
So that's building self-esteem. Good old-fashioned CBT. Do I want to do that for last or first? Where are we at? I think I'll hit the other ones and end with CBT. So
CBT.
we're going to end on that.
What's the acronym?
So, CBT, what's the acronym?
Yep.
Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. See, that's totally therapy.
I know
world.
you're used to saying CBT.
Totally therapy world. We'll come back to CBT. Remember the mindset that I think we had mentioned this before when did I bring that up? Just give me a head nod. Did I talk about the mindset on a TEDx talk for the show? I don't think I did. I think I thought it might be a cool current event. Yeah, I'm thinking I didn't. Okay. How can I do this briefly? I don't even have a link for it. I didn't prepare it. I just wanted to talk about it because I thought Matt was going to be with this show that I did. We ended up changing that. In our mastermind group, we had a TEDx talk that highlighted the amazing power of literally what your mindset can create for you.
You want to tell me what TEDx is?
TEDx? Okay, cool. TEDx talks are really, really cool talks. They're about 15, 20 minutes in length, and they cover all kinds of really topics. TEDx speakers are amazing. They kind of, it's a big gig. If I could get a TEDx spot and talk about mental health, that would be for some that'd be a pinnacle of your career to be able to be on that stage.
Okay.
So it's an incredible conference where they have these TEDx speakers. And this one was on mindset, and she used a few different examples to demonstrate what you believe in your mind that can actually change what results occur in your life. Just your mind. No Jedi mind tricks, no weird things like that. But the 2 examples that I remember she talked about, one was in a medical procedure, they would give a certain amount of medication, pain medication, powerful medication, as a recovery from a major surgery, thorax surgery, I think back surgery that she was talking about. And these doctors took the patients and wrapped them up into 2 groups. One got an injection from the nurse or the doctor, medical person, and the other had a computer injection in their IV. So they didn't really know when they were getting the medication and didn't really have any indicator of that. Hands down, the people that expected to get the benefit because they saw when the nurse was doing it and how that affected their body, totally reduced their pain. The computer one just didn't. Listen to the second example. They took maids, like a cleaning service people.
Right.
They got hundreds of, I think maybe 1,500 of them across different states. And they studied these maids and ask them if they get any exercise. And like 70% of them said, yeah, I get no exercise. None. That's what they believed. And so they took these workers and they gave half of them a 15-minute talk about how their work is full of exercise, meets the FDA requirements of exercise limits and, all the movement that you do, vacuuming and doing other things you do, picking up beds and all this and whatever. And the other group was just the regular group. After you got simply a 15-minute description of what your job does for your exercise needs, their weight dropped, metabolism, blood pressures dropped. The experience that they had is they are doing exercise every day as they work, had before, are now. The only thing changes is they realized scientifically, because of this presentation of 15 minutes, they lost weight, dude.
So after the show, we're going to talk about how good you can dance for 15 minutes.
For 10 minutes. Okay. I'll be swinging it. My wife will be so happy because she loves dancing, and I don't. But isn't that powerful, though?
Yep.
Like, that's crazy to me in my mind to think that literally just what you believe changes metabolically what your body can do.
Well, there's another study about the people who have a one injured arm, and they have to sit there. And Neil's probably looking at me like I know what you're talking about, where they, for 15 minutes, closed their eyes and focused on, okay, I'm moving this arm, I'm flexing this muscle or whatever. They actually the muscle tone actually was not as lost as much as it should have been.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think I have
Okay.
seen that. I do know what you're talking about. And we do things in hypnosis. It was funny. Like I can hold this cup out here, and as my arm's going to start getting tired. I mean, you can't hold this cup out straight from you for a very long time. I mean, you start. I can already feel my shoulder a little bit, crimping up. Like when you get into hypnosis, you can sit here and do this for 5 hours. It's crazy stuff. Because our body has the ability of doing things we never would have thought we had the ability of doing. So this is absolutely a way to refute the negative thoughts that you have, that when you examine your thoughts and you realize the power of your mind literally to change what you can metabolically do, let alone believe. Okay, remember those permanency words? Here's a tip. Straight up avoid them. Don't use them. That totally goes a long way into... I almost want to burn this into people's minds. This is a direct therapy tip that I use all the time, and I catch in sessions all the time. I'll be talking to people, and boom, they throw one out, and I'm like, wait a minute, look at that word. What are we doing? What does that even mean? How is that even possible? And I mean, they get used to doing that with me. They're like, okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah. They roll their eyes. They're like, okay, you got me again, But how many times do you use those, people? I mean, if you're listening out here, forever, just don't use them. And when you hear them, just stop and re-say the sentence. You get the point. Remember the lies that emotions can create for us. When you have a negative thought, understand that it's emotional in nature, and understand the reality, be insightful about the fact that they lied to us can absolutely refute the negative thoughts that we have. Gain a new perspective on the matter means sometimes you ever take a step back from a situation?
Mm-hmm. All the time.
Right? Look at something else, think about something else, come back to that, and then be in that same situation. It's different because your mindset, your changed perspective is going to give you a different angle on a situation that can absolutely refute negative thoughts. And then I said, this is weird. You could feel funny about this all day long if you want to, but listen, if you say positive things about yourself out loud, it changes how you feel. I know that I can dance. I've gotten over that a little bit. I've literally done it on multiple occasions since I'm all grown up, and I think I do it okay, right? That's nice to be able to say, and it's true. I can believe it.
Right.
Still don't feel totally comfortable with it, which lends you to understand that this isn't going to go completely away. There's no absolutes, but I can say that with all genuine and truth when I'm sitting here talking to you. So say things out loud. Do a journal. We're not going to spend much time on it, but we've got this. We've talked about having a feel-good.
It's like
file
you're convincing
before.
yourself.
You're literally kind of giving yourself a break, right? Go a little further with that, though. You're convincing yourself.
You're
of
convincing
what?
yourself. I mean, who you going to trust? If you can't trust yourself, who could you trust? You tell yourself something. I mean, I can dance.
I can dance.
I can
if you
dance.
want to. Yeah. I think that you're really working against some of these things that people have kind of brought to you in your life. And what a rewarding endeavor that is. So that's the list. I thought it'd be cool, though, to end on literally like what we do in CBT. So you didn't know what CBT stands for, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy.
Well, actually,
You've
I
heard
did.
of this before,
I
I'm
actually
sure.
did because it's on the notes here, but I figured somebody else listening to the show might say, "What is CBT?"
Do you know much about it? You hear about it all the time. We've done a whole show. I think Craig was like amazed early on in our show when we did it. He's like, "Oh my God, this is a lot of things in my mastermind program stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I get it." I said mastermind. I meant unbeatable mind. But do you know much about what it is, or how have you conceptualized it?
No, I don't know much about it.
Yeah, you can conceptualize like, what is this therapist going to do in cognitive behavioral therapy? It's like, I find that it's a mystery for people. But basically, if we were looking at it, it's used a lot for this particular topic in how to manage negative messages. Core beliefs are a huge part of what we see in cognitive therapy. It's kind of similar to the implicit bias that we have. We're trying to take those core beliefs and challenge them, as we've talked about tonight, and understand that they can be rewired literally in the way that we have cognition, the way that we think, talk to ourselves, and do self-talk. We talk a lot about cognitive distortions, which are really like these dysfunctional assumptions. So the whole idea is that you have these core beliefs and how we get distorted in our thinking, and they create automatic negative thoughts. Now, the thing that's key about that is automatic negative thoughts. Remember, how good are we at, how do we put it, quality assurance of our own thinking?
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that. So if we're taking these thoughts that we have and we're realizing that they're actually automatic, but we pay attention to them, permanency words, I've tried to give you some clues to key into when this happens, then you're going to actively and collaboratively with the therapist work on reframing these things, right? So you're taking them, you're identifying them, you're realizing they're ingrained, and you're becoming more insightful when you do this, and then you actively, and in therapy, collaboratively reframe the things that you're assuming that are destroying you. They highlight that it's goal-oriented and problem-focused. Usually when we're doing CBT, we're really thinking on the present. Like I said, I'm catching people all the time using permanency words in sessions. That's primary cognitive behavioral therapy in action. And then there's an emphasis on trying to prevent this from happening. And then you go into, further evaluating and dealing with the dysfunctional thoughts and behavior. And then you change thinking, cognitive behavioral, right, through the thinking and behaving. So you'll literally create behavior plans and things that you'll actively try to do, like listing out a positive and a negative and go at it and all. I mean, that's the nuts and bolts of how cognitive behavioral therapy goes, and it clears up maybe a little bit of the mystery. But is this easy or hard to do? I mean, I've laid it out, I think, pretty clearly, but this is hard stuff to really get into doing.
It can be done.
Yeah. There is hope in it, but I think when I'm working with somebody that has a whole lot of negativity in their life and in their own head, to unwire these things, I don't want to give any misinterpretation that this is simple and an easy procedure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. You go through the process, and in 5 sessions, you're done. That's just not realistic. I totally agree. You're a positive person, Adam. It can be done. But do you have a sense of how difficult it is to change one of these negative thoughts about ourselves?
I do, and I've got, and I'm trying to find the actual part of where you said it, but I've got some advice for everybody. If you're talking about saying something positive to yourself, if you're not sure what to exactly what to say or whatever, when something happens, just say I got this.
Okay.
Just say it out loud and say I got this, and take the challenge and just take it on, whatever it is.
Go a little further with that, and maybe even I'll try to think of an example. I do actually have an example. How much time we have left, but I have an example. But go a little further with that, because I think that is something that we're trying to do, but people can get really stuck and hard into doing it.
Well, I mean, I always use the analogy of something I'm actually going on and mechanical or whatever. My lawnmower's messed up right now. I'm not a mechanic.
Yeah. Okay.
I know how stuff works, but I'm not a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Two totally different things.
It is.
So I need to take my lawnmower deck off and do some repairs. I'm like, I can pay somebody this. And I got this. I took it apart.
Okay.
That's my goal right now. I'm taking it apart and redoing it. When I started, I didn't even know what I'd even needed to do. Now I understand how it works and know what parts to order and got it ordered. And now I'm redoing things, sanding it down, repainting. And when I get done, it's going to be brand new.
See, that's awesome. Absolutely. I can appreciate that. I mean, I think that there's a lot of doubt that you have. It's tough to being a dude. We're supposed to know all this crap, right? And not a lot of people understand even the fact that you need oxygen, spark, fire of some sort, and something to burn to make stuff work. It's really kind of that simple when you learn it, but something stops working. Dude, I don't know if I'm supposed to get to the air filter, if I'm supposed to try to figure out the spark plug, or if it's like some fuel that's got water in it. Which one do I even start with? Because this shit ain't working.
Yeah,
okay?
like I said, I'm not a mechanic, but I have that part of my lawnmower figured out.
But I could appreciate that as an example, because anytime I'm doing something on my car, and I changed my TPC sensor, I think is what it was, on my Jeep, and I just realized, like, okay, you know what? It's going to take me longer than normal. Mechanic might do this in 15 minutes. For me, I'm giving myself all afternoon. However long it takes, it's okay. I can do this.
I got this.
I got this. So it's, you know what? I think that we can wrap up fairly on this as a phrase, right? I got this. So wrapping up, listen, this is a debilitating reality. Adam, thanks for hanging out with us, and helping us with this topic. By the way, guess what? We've got a big announcement in episode 200 is going to be an announcement episode. So
okay,
another little note for that. But this is a really debilitating, tough time that people really struggle with, and so don't think it's going to be simple. But I love Adam's positivity and his encouragement that he's offered tonight. He's dead on. He's right. He's on point. You really can manage these episodes where you get into negative self-talk, negative belief, negative automatic thinking processes that go on into your head, whether they came from your mom, your dad, aunts, uncles, friends, traumatic reactions, toxic relationships, criticisms. It doesn't matter really where they came from, because you really are empowered, and hopefully you've got a little bit of some ideas on how to manage these things, because you are able, like, what did we say?
You got this.
You got this. All right. Guys, you guys have a great week, and we will see you soon. Take care.